To get things started with our focus today on debt-free degrees, I want to share my personal story and how I graduated debt-free with an engineering degree from Kansas State University. You need to know, for starters, I tried to lay out a good plan so that I could be working a part-time job that wouldn't be a major burden on me all the way through school. I found it most appealing for some reason to work as a pin boy at a bowling alley. No, not resetting the pins, but I worked behind the machines, helping free up jams when balls would get stuck or pins wouldn't set. And I also cleaned the lanes and made sure that they were well oiled. Well, I got that job lined up just before I started my freshman year and got fired before I had the chance to start my first class.
You're fired. Go.
I was really counting on this job to be my part-time income foundation to support my debt-free degree. And as a result of losing that job, I ended up not having a part-time job through my freshman year. This was okay because I had enough savings to get through. And just in case you're thinking it, when I say I graduated debt-free, it wasn't because my parents paid for my tuition. They didn't pay for my tuition, they didn't pay for my books, they didn't pay for my materials. I put myself through school. My parents did, however, make sure that I had a roof over my head, and I am sincerely grateful for that. All right, back to the story. I failed to secure a stable part-time job leading into college, and I also failed to get the scholarships I was striving for. You see, Kansas State University looks at ACT scores to establish freshman scholarships that are granted by the university, and I had a composite ACT score of 27. The threshold for a full ride for that first year was 28. I missed it by 1 point. I took that test twice, and I did not make it. What I did get was a scholarship that paid for everything shy of about $4,000. That $4,000 came out of what I had in savings. I only had about $5,000 in savings going into that freshman year. And I knew that the academic pace that I wanted to maintain to graduate when I wanted was going to be too aggressive for me to work enough hours to pay for it all out of pocket. I needed scholarships, so my freshman year I focused so hard on my academics, and I made it through that freshman year with a 4.0. That helped a lot. In fact, I believe the university put more weight on that freshman 4.0 GPA than they did my ACT score because they granted me enough scholarship money that I was able to, again, get through my second academic year debt-free. I had about $900 left after my freshman year. I had the income that I'd earned from a summer job between academic years, and I had the scholarships that were granted to me from that 4.0 GPA. And I want you to know I did not get a 4.0 GPA because I was quote unquote gifted or smart. I just worked hard. I worked really hard. Starting that second academic year, I got a job as a tutor. I tutored 14 to 16 hours every week from that point on through the next 4 years. And every single summer, I worked full-time at an internship, be it in Kansas, Nebraska, Texas, or Utah. Now, my goal of graduating debt-free was trending well enough that I added a concurrent master's degree to my bachelor's in architectural engineering. I also added a minor in physics. This extended me from a 5-year bachelor's program to a 6-year total college career. And those graduate credits were significantly more expensive, but I switched from being a tutor to a graduate teaching assistant. This covered a good chunk of my graduate credits and paid me more per hour than the tutoring job did. But I really enjoyed my tutoring job, so I continued to do it freelance for my last academic year. And all through this time, I was a frugal guy. I did everything I could to save money to the point that I became obsessed with free food.
Regardless of how long it took, I'm sure we can all agree on one thing. Free food is amazing.
I said yes to almost everything that involved free food. And saying yes to free food changed my life. I not only got involved with about a dozen student organizations at the officer level because I said yes for free food, but I landed my first job because I said yes to an event with free food. I also met my wife at a barn dance where there was free food. I didn't dance in college. I didn't want to go because I'm like, why go to a dance if you don't dance? I mean, imagine babyface me, engineering nerd, trying to do a line dance in a barn. But I said yes because there was going to be free food there. And that's where I was introduced to my wife, and we started talking about academics. We started talking about education. We started talking about our mutual tutoring experience, and that led us into a beautiful friendship and then our married relationship. All this to say, I had an academic experience that I wouldn't trade for the world. My life was changed because I went to Kansas State University and I fought hard to graduate debt free. Over those 6 years, I earned about $75,000 in scholarships. And tuition totaled about $78,000 for my 6 years. From scholarships alone, my tuition was almost full ride. And working the jobs that I did allowed me to afford my books, materials, transportation, and a college experience that I will never forget. One of the best things to come out of this was being able to go into the working world outside of college and just start saving without having to worry at all about auto debt or student loan debt. My greatest wealth building tool, my newfound engineering income, was free to engage with wealth building savings so that I could establish a stellar foundation for my hope filled financial future without having to start behind the eight ball and get out of student loan debt first. That's what I want for you. I know you can do it. I know your path isn't going to be exactly like mine, but I know that if you put your mind to it and you believe it is possible to graduate debt free today, that you can. And that's why, for the main topic, we're going to be covering my top 10 tips to graduate debt free.